China, Japan, Mexico. What I say is what I say. When do we beat Mexico at the border? They are not our friend. They're laughing at us. I don't think they like me very much. I don't think they like me very much. We need to build a wall, and I will have Mexico pay for that wall. I am Donald Trump. What I say is what I say.
And welcome to the Johnny Ray Show. We got a small, compact show for you tonight. We will be talking about the Michigan canvassers that refused to certify the Detroit voting tally, and then were doxxed and threatened and harassed and decided to finally agree to certify. And then something great happened. They grew a spine and rescinded their certification. We'll also talk about the Georgia recounts and how miraculously 5,000 or so votes for Donald Trump just decided to pop up that didn't pop up in the original count for Georgia. So little shenanigans there that we'll get into. We'll also discuss Senator Hirono from Hawaii and her idiocies and her stupendously stupid comments at the big tech hearings a couple of days ago in the Senate hearings. And we will discuss a few of the extreme, horrendous lockdown measures that some liberal shithole states and cities are taking into effect over the holiday week. All that and more on this episode of The Johnny Ray Show. And welcome back to the Johnny Ray Show. So, over the last few days, Michigan has been in the spotlight for the recounts during the election, which is not over. I can't say this enough. People are still running around talking about Joe Biden being the president-elect and Donald Trump is he's lost and he should concede, and if he doesn't concede, he's gonna hold up in the Oval Office snorting cocaine off the desk and shooting big bazooka guns through the door saying, "Say hello to my little friend." Okay? People are still running with this, and it's getting ridiculous, it's getting stupid, and I'm honestly questioning whether or not people on the left that believe this stuff actually have brain cells to rub together. I'm betting they don't, but it's very, very questionative. So Michigan has been in the spotlight, and there are four I guess votes that have to be unanimous before the I believe it's Wayne County, Detroit, basically Detroit, before they can certify their votes. And two of the four decided that they were not going to rescind, or that they were not going to certify their votes, that they suggested that there be an audit of the ballots because there are a lot of things not balancing out. They said there was like 700 instances of not balancing out. So they held off, said they are not going to certify the votes. Well, then see some prominent figures on the left, the crazies as I like to call them, because that's what they are, decided that was no good, that wasn't going to happen on their watch, and they doxed them. They gave out their personal information. That Twitter actually has their personal information that people have posted on Twitter and Facebook to dox these two individuals who are just doing their patriotic duty to make sure that the election is upheld to the correct standards. They doxed them. They were harassed and blatantly told to be harassed. I believe it was on Twitter, if I'm not mistaken. There were instances of people actually telling the left, the liberals, the BLM and Antifa armies to go to their house and burn their house down. They threatened their families, they threatened their lives, they threatened their livelihoods, all because they didn't want to certify the votes if everything wasn't 100% accurate. And that is the ridiculousness that we are in 2020. Now, before I get too deep into this, I do want to let you know that you need to make sure and like, share, comment, subscribe. Make sure when you subscribe you hit the little bell. It's like right here, and that way you can get notified of all the future episodes and content. You can also find us on Apple and SoundCloud and Spotify, really anywhere that audio podcasts are available, you can find us. So now that that's over with, let's get into the video. And honestly, I'm not even sure. I couldn't even take this man seriously when I saw the video, but excuse me, it's not corona, smoker's cough. So this gentleman is apparently somebody who's running in Detroit for an elected office. He decided that he was going to share a video that just so happened to share some personal information. You know, so
the facts. You are certainly showing that you are a racist. You may say that you are not. You may claim that you are not. But let's be very clear. Your words today and your actions today made it clear that you are okay with silencing the votes of an 80% African American city. And what that tells us is you, Miss Monica Palmer from Grosse Pointe Woods, which has a history of racism, are deciding to enable and continue to perpetuate the racist history of this country.
And just so we're clear, okay? Just so we're clear, I want you all to realize that that particular video is still up on Twitter right now. That's where I got that video from, was the original video on Twitter. And Twitter supposedly has this huge 8-page policy on giving out personal information, doxing. That's why they supposedly censored the New York Post when the Hunter Biden story, the laptop story, came out, because they said it was doxing because it gave personal email information. Then, of course, when that didn't work and it was shown that it wasn't in fact doxing, then they veered off to, well, hacked materials, but that fell through because just a couple of weeks prior to that, they were throwing around Trump's tax returns that were hacked and illegally leaked to the New York Times. So big tech obviously does not care unless the doxing is coming from the right onto the left. If it's the right onto the left, they'll censor it, they'll block it, they'll ban you from Twitter and Facebook, and they'll send you to the abyss of social media hell. But if you're a leftist and you're doxing conservatives, well, that's just okay. Whether you give out personal information. I mean, this guy gave out a personal name, location. There was another post that had their work and work phone numbers. it had their addresses, it had their kids' names. I mean, it's ridiculous. This is in fact why, for the most part, on any of my social media, you do not see anything about where I live, about my kids' names, my wife's name. You don't hear really anything about that, because of the fact that I know that the left does this stuff. And as soon as I pop up on their radar as them not liking me, all bets are off. So after after being doxxed and threatened and harassed and maybe even physically accosted, who knows, they then went ahead and the next morning said, fine, we'll certify the votes. I don't know what changed between then and the following day, but the following day they turned around and said, no, we've now grown a spine, we've dropped a pair of testiculars, and we are not going to certify the votes. We are rescinding our certification. So that's where we are right now. I'm not sure. A lot of prominent people have said that there is no case to be able to rescind a certification. I'm not sure. I have to do a lot more digging to get into all of that. But as soon as I know, you'll know. So now we go on to another state, and that's Georgia. Georgia decided they were going to get ahead of the curve. They decided a few days ago that they were going to go ahead and hand recount all the ballots in their districts. And everybody on the right was like, that's awesome, great, good job. And the people on the left were, well, it's stupid, they're not going to find anything, the recounting, it's all theatrics. Okay, that's fine. Yesterday, they found some 5,000 votes that were not originally counted, that were missed in the original count. So, if Georgia, well, and let me get this, perfectly clear here, so that I'm not fact-checked by the Media Matters and PolitiFact. 5,000 some odd votes is not going to change Georgia to Trump from Biden. Nobody's saying that. But it does give very probable cause to audit the votes. Because if they did a hand recount and magically appeared 5,000 votes, don't you think that gives some sort of idea that it's a possibility that maybe other votes were missed, other ballots were illegally drafted? So no, we're not saying that 5,000 votes in Georgia is going to swap the whole election. Nobody's saying that, and if they are saying that, they're stupid. What we are saying is that this gives us reason to go in further and investigate, which is all we've wanted the entire time. That's all we've wanted. We have never wanted anything other than all legal votes be counted and all illegal votes be thrown out. That's all we've asked for. And all these people, it's so mind-numbing that liberals are screeching at the top of their lungs because it's been, 16 days? 16 days since the election. Hell, Al Gore got 38 days. And honestly, I don't remember anybody complaining when Al Gore was going through his legal due process. No leftists were out there yelling and screaming about how they're holding up the election. None. And I don't even remember conservatives out there screaming that he's holding up the election. Yeah, they were probably out there saying, he's a jackass. He's just trying to figure a way to slide on in. But none of us ever called them un-American for just simply taking their due process. So until we've gotten to the 38th day, even on the 38th day, until we've gone to the 39th day, any liberal that tells me that Trump is just holding up the election is nothing more than an uneducated, stupid idiot. And I demand that they sew their mouth shut, chop off their fingers, and kneecap themselves so they can't walk around, type on anything, or talk forever. That's what I demand of anybody who before the 39th day says anything about him holding up the election being a problem. After the 39th day, you could say he's holding up the election at that point, because then he's gone over the time that Al Gore's retarded self took in 2000. After that, you could talk all you want. I'm still not going to listen. You're still a jackass. But I won't demand that you sew your lips shut and chop off your fingers. Now, let's go read the article here. It says, the vote recount in Georgia is expected to confirm the election results as intended, but it also exposed flaws in the voting system, which is what we've been saying. That's me, not the article. Almost resulted in some ballots being overlooked. Election workers in 3 different counties, discovered a total of more than 3,300 new votes stored on a memory card that hadn't been loaded into the election computers. A different issue in Floyd County led to another 2,600 ballots going unscanned. Those votes are now being counted, reducing Joe Biden's lead over Donald Trump to 12,781 votes. Mr. Trump gained about 1,400 votes that county election officials hadn't tallied before the recount. The recount was scheduled to be completed Wednesday night, and the full results were expected to be released by Thursday. And the rest of this is the state voting system manager talking about the process. So, anyway, so that's what was said in regards to the Georgia recount. Now, whether or not that's enough to invoke a full audit, I don't know. I'm hoping. I truly hope so, because I think a full audit of a lot of these states is really the only way that we're going to know truly. And that's another thing that I haven't got. If Joe Biden won, fair and square, no cheating, he won, outright won, then what is the problem with double checking? What is the issue? If he has nothing to worry about, that he knows he won in a landslide, he won the popular vote by like 6 million people now. I mean, he gained more, he got more votes than the most popular president in modern history, and that was Barack Obama. He got like 5 million some odd more votes than the most popular president in modern history. Now, Barack Obama was never my favorite, by no means. But, statistically, vote record-wise, he was the most popular president in modern history. He beat everybody. And now, Joe Biden is. Now, do you really expect anybody to believe that the man that didn't travel outside of Delaware for the last month, when he did do rallies, he had maybe a dozen people? I think I seen a rally that he had like 20 people. I mean, you could drive through most major areas in the country, and Joe Biden was running, if yard signs counted as polls, Joe Biden was running third behind Donald Trump and wood for sale. Okay? Joe Biden, you couldn't pay me to believe that Joe Biden had more people vote for him than Barack Obama, than obviously Donald Trump, than Hillary Clinton, than Mitt Romney. Obviously, who the hell votes for Mitt Romney? But you can't expect me to believe that he got more votes than all of them. All of them. It just doesn't add up. That's why we need a full audit of, at the very least, the tightest race states. That would be Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. Those 6 states should be fully audited. And if Joe Biden comes out on top after a full audit, then I will concede that he won the election. But I just don't think it's the case. I just don't. It's hard to believe, and it's honestly, it's almost unbelievable. Almost. Now, on to, from one stupid political figure in Joe Biden to another. This last couple of days, round 2 of the big tech Senate hearings have been going on, and Ted Cruz, he showed up and showed out in big fashion, completely slamming the tech bros. I might get into some of that in the next episode. Maybe do it like a compilation. I want to go to the most ridiculous speech and yes no question. I say that because the question almost just never came. It was just really just Senator Hirono Ono from Hawaii. It was just really her grandstanding, talking about whatever she felt like talking about at the particular moment. It was quite ridiculous. It was stupidity at its finest. Take a listen to this.
Mr. Zuckerberg, for the second time in 3 weeks, you've been called before the Senate committee so my Republican colleagues can beat you up over claims that your platforms are supposedly biased against conservatives. The fact of the matter is that these allegations are completely baseless. Everyone who has systematically looked at the content of social media, from Media Matters to the Cato Institute to former Republican Senator John Kyle, has found absolutely no evidence of anti-conservative bias. And data from CrowdTangle show that far-right content from the likes of Fox News, Ben Shapiro, David Bongino dominates the daily top 10 most engaged pages on Facebook. So all of these allegations about the fact that you hire or all of your employees are left of center is relevant of nothing. Certainly not relevant of some sort of anti-conservative bias in terms of your content moderation. So the way I see it, this hearing is a transparent effort by my Republican colleagues to work the refs. And unfortunately, in my view, it is working. 2 weeks ago, the Washington Post reported that Facebook has bent over backwards to avoid claims that it was biased against conservatives. And it removed a strike against Donald Trump Jr.'s Instagram account that would have penalized him as a repeat offender.
Okay, so a lot to unpack in just that little clip, and there's still more. So if you haven't fallen asleep or thrown your computer or phone into the abyss, she talks about how instead of what conservatives have been saying, which is that big tech is censoring conservatives on a mass scale, she is arguing that, in fact, it's not that they are censoring conservatives at all, that they are actually letting conservatives get away with more than they should. And she utilizes the fact that Facebook removed a strike from Donald Trump Jr. in which would have been a final strike to make him a quote-unquote repeat offender on Instagram. But they've given him enough strikes that he got to a point where he could be considered a repeat offender. There are crazy leftists on Facebook and Twitter that haven't even got a strike, haven't even got a warning, don't even get a little flag that says this is disputed. Every prominent and really every liberal on social media right now should have a little label on Twitter underneath every one of their tweets that say disputed, because almost every one of them recognize Joe Biden as the president-elect, and that's not accurate. He is not president-elect. Nobody is president-elect right now. The only thing we do know is that Donald Trump is still president because it's still in his term. There is no president-elect right now because, as we'll talk about later, and we've talked about ad nauseum, is that until either Donald Trump comes out and concedes or the Electoral College certifies their votes, there is no president-elect. So, every liberal on Twitter that calls Joe Biden president-elect should have a dispute. None of them do. In fact, Donald Trump has a dispute, little flag dispute underneath his, when he says that Joe Biden's not the president-elect. It is far and wide ridiculous how bad big tech censors and bullies and pushes around conservatives on their platform. A platform that's supposed to be free and open. Okay? It is ridiculous. And I've done at length segments that show the pure censorship of conservatives over liberals. I've done experiments myself. I have a Facebook and a Twitter that are far left liberal, that I've got everything from Biden-Harris pictures to I hate Ben Shapiro memes. Never once have I been flagged. Never once have I even been so much as warned for saying some of the things that I say. And it's been bad. It's been bad. I've said a lot of things that a conservative person saying similar things could not get away with. In fact, my regular social media has been banned for less. And I know what you're thinking, that's anecdotal because it's just you doing your little experiment. But it proves a point. If they do it to me, who bigger are they doing it to? That's the point.
Apparently, in 2019, Facebook included Breitbart, a website described by its co-founder as a platform for the alt-right, as one of its trusted news sources. And early in 2019, Facebook selected the Daily Caller, another site with white nationalist ties, to be one of its third-party fact-checkers. And the Wall Street Journal has reported how Joel Kaplan, former deputy chief of staff to George W. Bush, stopped changes designed to make Facebook's algorithms less divisive because the changes would have disproportionately affected conservative users and publishers, according to Kaplan. At what point you will stop giving in to baseless claims of anti-conservative bias and start exercising your control over Facebook to stop driving division and actually to quote a recent
and here she's acting as though Twitter and Facebook have never banned a conservative. She's acting as though they've never given flags to conservatives. She is so far out of touch. It makes me wonder, and I know prominent figures, when you see a tweet from now President-elect Johnny Ray on Twitter, or from Johnny Ray on Facebook, that's me. These people, I understand, celebrities and the prominent figures, they have handlers that do their tweeting for the most part. I don't know if Donald Trump does, because some of his tweets, you almost can hear his voice through the tweet. But in any event, it almost makes me wonder if she's ever even opened the Twitter app. If she's ever even just logged in to a Facebook page. Because for her to act as though conservatives just get away with murder is ridiculous. I mean, it's, again, going back to the first round of questions from the Senate Judiciary Committee to the big tech bros, not one of them could name just one liberal that they have banned from their platform. Just one. That's all they wanted, was just one. And they couldn't do it. Do you know why? Because they don't. They don't. They don't ban liberals. They let liberals run ragged and roughshod. Alright, we'll finish this last
Harvard
few
study
seconds.
found that President Trump was the single biggest source of voting-related misinformation in the run-up to the presidential election. Since the election, President Trump has only continued the lies on Twitter and Facebook, falsely claiming that he won re-election and that the election is being stolen from him. But the truth is, Joe Biden won the election, as major news networks and the Associated Press have confirmed. In response to President Trump's lies, you have, at most, added...
And there you have it. Right there. Right there. She flat lies. Flat lies and says that Joe Biden won. Why? Because the Associated Press said he did? I'm sorry, I missed that part of the Constitution where it said that the Electoral College will vote, but if the Associated Press or Fox News or MSNBC or CNN, if they say that somebody won, then it's the Bible. It's gospel. It's law. Done. Electoral College can go home, clock out. They don't need to do their job and vote on the winner of the presidential election. I must have missed that part of the Constitution. And furthermore, why use the Associated Press? Who in the hell even listens to the Associated Press? I mean, at the very least, you could use CNN, MSNBC, or Fox, the three main news media outlets, all of which are left-leaning at this point, or far left, radical left, in the case of MSNBC and CNN. And Fox is now leaning left. I mean, I haven't watched Fox personally since election night. I haven't watched Fox, not a drop of it, because it's a bunch of wishy-washy. For 4 years, they stood by and allowed the liberals to run roughshod against President Trump and anybody who supported President Trump. They allowed them to be harassed. They buried news stories because they didn't want to go against the political agenda of the left. And honestly, they showed their true colors on election night when they thought that Joe Biden was going to win. And they thought, well, we'll just jump ship, and that way, when Joe Biden takes over, he won't chop us off. Fox is the equivalent of all those people in the streets when Antifa and BLM, when they run up on them, they put their fist in the air, hoping that they will be eaten last by the radical left mob. That's what Fox is. They are the equivalent of those pieces of garbage white people that, and of course all races and colors are included, but it's mostly these garbage white people that would rather virtue signal and put their fist in the air and bow on their knees in hopes to not get eaten, or at the very least to be eaten last by the mob, by the woke mob of the left. That's what they are. So now we've now discussed the stupidest senator. Now we're going to go on to see, we're going to have an in-depth look. Not really in-depth because I don't really care to look into either of them that much. You know all about them. I want to know, and I want you to comment below what your choice is on the worst governor of the United States. Which governor is the absolute worst? I've narrowed it down to two, and these two are, in my opinion, the absolute abomination of governing elected officials. They are the worst. We know about all the elected officials that rules for thee, none for me group of people. I mean, everybody was here for the Nancy Pelosi hair blowout salon visit during her lockdown routine. We all know about Lori Lightfoot up in Chicago. Her little, we talked about it last time. You gotta wear the mask. Everybody needs to cover the face. You gotta wear the mask. Don't let me see you without a mask. But then she was out in the streets with a megaphone, surrounded by hundreds of people, yelling and screaming in celebration of the preemptive false announcement winning of Joe Biden. And then when she says, when it's brought to her attention that she's a hypocrite, she doubles down and lies on national TV, and even so far as queued up the clip that proved she was lying while she was lying. She said that everybody was wearing masks, and then they showed the video clip while she's talking, mind you. While she's talking, everybody's wearing masks, and it pans across, and there's 5 or 6, at the very least, 5 or 6 people not wearing masks, but she's not wearing a damn mask. We all know about them. We all know about the liberal media that tells you need to lock down, we need to social distance, we need to wear the masks, and then they're caught off camera without masks. We know about Dr. Fauci. Dr. Fauci he jumps back and forth. He's so wishy-washy. He should be a washing machine. First he tells you don't need a mask. Don't go buy masks. Then he tells you need a mask. You should buy a mask. Everybody should wear a mask. First we should lock down. No, lockdowns aren't going to work. But now we got to lock down again. Could have to lock down again after that. Then he says, well, you're not going to get a vaccine that's any higher than 70 or 75%. We got one that's 90 and now another one that's like 95%. So he was obviously highly wrong on that. I don't know what he's ever been right on. Anybody who's listening to Dr. Fauci at this point, and I know I've gone off on a tangent here, but anybody who's listening to Dr. Fauci should literally reevaluate their entire existence. Okay? So we've seen all these liberals, and it's usually liberals, because most of the conservatives are saying, we don't want to wear masks. Masks don't work. There's not a lot of evidence showing that masks do a whole lot. Lockdowns have been proven completely ineffective. I mean, places like LA have been locked down for the last 7 months, and they still have some of the highest spikes in cases and deaths. But these two governors have probably been the absolute worst, because one of them has the attitude of do as I say, not as I do, and that is a horrible, horrible attitude to have as the leader of the elected leader of an entire state. The other one is almost like he could look you in the eyes, smile, and lie, and expect you to believe his lie. Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, who's been named now Newsom-Leany, he's in a bit of hot water, but he tried to talk his way out of it, and it almost makes him look even worse. He has locked down the entire state almost for months and months and months, and then turns around and goes to a giant get-together birthday party for a friend of his at a restaurant, the French Laundry, in California there, and he goes there not wearing a mask. He's not social distancing, because anybody who's been to this restaurant knows, I've seen the inside of the restaurant. The inside of the restaurant, it's tiny. You are almost asshole to elbows no matter where you go in this restaurant. And he was there, not social distancing, not wearing a mask, mass amounts of people. And then when he was asked about it, he gives this kind of, I don't know, like this, like, I know that I didn't do what I should have done, what I told you to do, what I've been making you do, but come on, man. He gave like the Joe Biden, come on, man. Take a listen to his I guess what you could call it is an apology.
And as soon as I sat down at the larger table, I realized it was a little larger group than I had anticipated. And I made a bad mistake. Instead of sitting down, I should have stood up and walked back, got in my car, and drove back to my house. Instead, I chose to sit there with my wife and a number of other couples that were outside the household. And you can quibble about the guidelines, et cetera, but the spirit of what I'm preaching all the time was contradicted, and I got to own that. And so I want to apologize to you because I need to preach and practice, not just preach and not practice. And I've done my best to do that.
And like, I know that I shouldn't have been there, but I was, and I gotta practice and preach, because preaching's good, but practicing, that's better, and you should practice what you preach while you're preaching, because otherwise you're just preaching, not practicing. And guess what? The entire state, nobody's preaching because you can't go to church. That was the biggest, most ridiculously stupid. It was a non-apology. Never once did he actually say, "Hey, check it, I'm sorry. I hope that you all forgive me. I did wrong, and it won't happen again." Not once. Not once did he say that. He made excuses. Well, like, I was there, and as soon as I sat down, I realized I shouldn't have been there. But you know what? I'm already here. I mean, I've already exposed myself to these thousands of people, or hundreds of people, how many ever people were there. I've already exposed myself. I might as well have fun while I'm here. Like, as long as you practice what you're preaching. And that's what'll happen from now on. I'm going to practice what I preach while I'm preaching what I'm practicing. The fact that he could sit there and smile while saying that non-apology, because he knows people are going to accept it. He knows people are just going to go, huh? Gavin's got a Gavin. It just makes no sense why nobody is holding these people accountable like they should be. Nobody is. Conservative Republicans included. Nobody is holding people like Gavin Newsom, Mussolini, accountable for their hypocrisy, their giant hypocrisy. Because this is the first time that he is completely went against his own mandate. And this isn't the first time. Later on in that apology, the video doesn't show it, but a longer cut of the video does. He actually says that this is like the third time that he's been out during this lockdown, this mandatory lockdown. This is the third time. And nobody's held him accountable at all. So then you flip it to the other side of the coin, and you got Fredo Cuomo. Fredo. It's just... It's so hard to choose between these two jackasses. They're both giant jackasses. One is just kind of arrogant, and the other one's just an ass. So Cuomo was doing a press conference yesterday, and he got into a slight argumentative altercation with a person that was asking him a question, and he just watch his body language. It's just almost ridiculous how he just nonchalant, just doesn't even.
This is the city's decision. They have an agreement at 3%. Today you said, well, I might have to impose an orange zone and I might have to close the schools, which an orange zone does. So what's going on? Does the city still have the ability to close its schools? Are you now taking control and saying that you have the power to make this decision? And for the millions of parents who want to know, are the schools going to open tomorrow in New York City?
All right. First of all, let's try not to be obnoxious and offensive in your tone, because you're 100% wrong. We announced the orange zone law over a month ago. I don't know if you were here or if you were paying attention, but that has been in effect for over a month. It always said, if by the state's numbers you hit 3%, the schools close. What's going on here is nothing that the law hasn't said for over a month. We then had the test out procedures. If you were paying attention, you would have known we closed the schools in New York City 2 weeks ago. Remember when we did an orange zone and a red zone in Brooklyn and Queens, and we closed the schools? Don't you remember that?
It was 3 weeks ago.
Okay, so what are you talking about? What are you talking about? You're now going to override. We did it already. That's the law, an orange zone and a red zone. Follow the facts.
Still confused.
Well, then you're confused.
I'm confused, and
Then I'll tell you what, Jimmy.
Parents are still confused as well. The schools
No,
in New
they're
York
not
City
confused.
tomorrow.
You're confused.
No, I think
Read
parents
the
are
law.
very confused as well.
Read the law, and you won't be confused. Go ahead.
I mean, read the law. Read the law and you won't be... You're confused. No, I'm not confused. You're confused. Are you confused? Because I'm not confused. I know what I'm doing. Because I'm from New York. Get the hell out of here. You know, he almost got away with being able to answer like an asshole, and nobody really noticed. The first thing was that slight that little jab that he took. Let's try not to be obnoxious. If anybody's obnoxious, Fredo, it's you. I promise you. I don't think I don't understand how this person continues to get elected. I don't understand it. To talk to anybody as an elected official like he just talked to that person. All that person was doing was asking why he's going to override and shut down schools because parents, along with him, are still confused. And he just so arrogant, and he leans back like he's just Don Corleone of The Godfather, like you will respect me. It's so hard to choose between the two of them as to who is the worst, the absolute worst governor of the United States. Of all the states, these two take the cake, and it's almost too hard to choose. So there's only really one way that we can choose which one of these two is the worst governor of the United States. And this is the only way, right here. The only possible way that we can choose is to do this. I mean, that's the only way. That is literally the only way that we can do it, is to just have these two go to the scorpion devil pit and fight it out, and see who is the biggest horse's ass governor that we have. That's the only way. Now, before I go, I want to talk about the third installment of this particular argument as to who's the worst elected officials. But first, before I do that, I want to do something, and I'm gonna probably do this every week, once a week from now on. I'm gonna do the best tweet of the week. This is the tweet of the week, and I'm going to show you on the screen, but I can't see it on the screen, so I gotta go onto my handy dandy phone here and read it to you in real time here. So I'll pop it up on the screen. Hopefully you guys get to see it. There you go. That's the tweet of the week. It's from me. I know, toot my own horn, but it was in regards to a guy named, it turns out it's a girl. I don't know what girl has this kind of ridiculous stupidness as their Facebook or their Twitter, but they were talking in regards to Candace Owens, who was saying that men who wear dresses aren't masculine, and that we need to bring masculinity back. It happened a couple of days ago. This person was attempting to, I guess, redirect from the weird males over the years that have wore dresses for whatever odd reason. And she said, "Ma'am, stable men don't claim they won an election that they lost fair and square either." I said, "Quick, show me which states confirmed their electoral vote." Their response was, "This year is nothing like 2000, where 537 votes decided Florida. This year, Biden leads Trump by tens of thousands of votes across multiple key states. Recounts and hollow fraud claims are very unlikely to change that, so shut the F up." I then responded, and I've still never got a response, and this was 12 or 13 hours ago at this point. I said all that and still couldn't answer a simple question. I know why, though, because in order to answer the question, you'd have to prove you were full of shit and wrong in your initial response. Listen, Clown Show, I shouldn't have to go over this because it's Civics 101, but I will. So there are two ways to finish a presidential election in the United States. One or all but one candidate has to concede and say, hey, I know I lost, I'm done, I quit. Or two, the Electoral College certifies their votes for one of the candidates. Now, neither of these two things happened, so since neither has happened, the presidential election isn't over, and Joe Biden nor Donald Trump has won. So, because of that fact, your initial response is false and stupid, thus making your responding comment or comments even more ridiculously stupid. 2020 is not 2000, is not 1992, and so on and so forth. And the fact that you deflect to other elections or political figures is absurd and shows your lack of education or common sense to be able to have a civil discourse without deflecting, projecting, and listing idiocies as facts when they aren't. I hope you seek the medical help you need. Oh, and P.S. This lesson on U.S. politics and civics is for free. Next time, I charge a hefty fee to show you the stupidity of your ways. And so, that is the tweet of the week. I'm still waiting on a response from Ansley. I highly doubt she will respond, because most of the time when you do more than just throw insults around, when you actually bring factual responses, most people don't want to argue with that, because most people can't argue with that, because they either lack the knowledge or they lack the brain capacity. So that was the tweet of the week, and I just kind of threw this in last minute right before I went on. So next week for the tweet of the week, I'll have some crazy graphics. Tweet of the week, that kind of cool stuff. But now on to the rest of the conversation. The third, I guess you would call the late entry, if you will, for the dumbest elected official would have to be the I guess it's the mayor of Oregon. No, governor. Oh, governor. So we got 3 governors here. 3 governors, all jackasses. The governor of Oregon has issued some Thanksgiving mandates as to what has to happen for Thanksgiving in Oregon there. And so let's see here. We're gonna do we're gonna go right here to this one. Yep, that's it right there. Governor Brown has given a serious warning that anyone who violates the new COVID-19 law could receive large fines and be arrested for 30 days in jail. Governor Kate Brown placed a 2-week freeze to limit the size of social gatherings to a maximum of 6 people. Those who fail to abide by the new mandate could face fines up to $1,250 and get some time behind a jail cell. It says or, but the actual mandate says and. So, yeah. So, restaurants are takeout only. Gyms and fitness are closed. Indoor recreation is closed. Venues of all kinds are closed. Faith-based organizations are open for a capacity limited to 25 indoors and 50 outdoors. So, at the very least, she's allowing churches. I'm sure by faith-based she means Islam and Black Lives Matter faith-based. Definitely not Christianity, I'm sure. Groceries and pharmacies are open, but only 75% capacity. Other retails are open to 75% capacity. Office environments are closed with some exceptions. Long-term care facility visitations are outdoors only. Personal services are open. Congregate sheltering follow current guidelines. Youth programs, schools, and child cares follow current guidelines. Private social events limited to 2 households or 6 individuals in a closed group, including Thanksgiving, mind you. That right there, that's the big one right there, including Thanksgiving. Wear a mask in your own home on Thanksgiving, only removing it when eating. I mean, that is in itself ridiculous. Don't leave your home during the 2-week shutdown. Don't leave your home at all. So that's the current guidelines in Oregon. So for Thanksgiving, you can only have 6 people, and you have to wear a mask in your own home, and you can't go outside. You can't go outside. I'm curious as to how they're going to mandate all of this. How are they going to enforce all of the guidelines? Because I got to tell you, I got more than 6 people in my household, let alone people going to come to Thanksgiving. This is the silliest, most authoritarian, tyrannical set of mandates I've ever seen, and it's happening all over the country. Oregon was just like the kickoff, because New York City has done the same thing. LA has officially joined in on the party and canceled Thanksgiving. This could be the dark horse. This could be the dark horse for the absolute most ridiculously stupid jackassery of an elected governor, or elected official for that matter. I don't know. I'd like you to comment on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, tweet me. My social media will be in the description box. Everybody kind of knows it already. I say it ad nauseum. But I want you to comment and tell me who you think takes the cake as the most jackassery governor of the United States. Is it Fredo Cuomo of New York City? Is it Gavin Mussolini of California? Is it Governor Brown of Oregon? I haven't thought of a really good name for her yet, but Down Brown, I don't know. I want you to let me know. Let me know who and why you decided that they are the jackassery governor of the United States. As always, make sure to click the like button, subscribe, make sure you click the little bell so that you get notified for all the future episodes that come your way. Stay tuned for more behind the paywall for members. I haven't thought of a really cool name yet, so right now you're just Johnny Ray members. But eventually I'm going to come up with a really cool name, not like those mugs that Crowder's slanging, not like the tumblers that old Shapiro likes to hawk off on you. I'm gonna come up with something really cool. So stay tuned for that, and make sure, again, like, share, comment, subscribe, spread it as far as you can, because Lord knows that social media keeps blocking my accounts. So until next time, thank you for watching the Johnny Ray Show. Stay tuned for the next episode. Until then, good night, and God bless.